Shalom Israel. First and foremost, I do want to give all praises, all honor, and all glory to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai Ba'Shem HaKadosh. I want to see apostles, Nels Great Millstone, for teaching us this truth, peace, and blessings to the whole elect of Israel. Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father, and Hebrew Ba'Shem is the name, and Yahushai is the name of the Begotten Son. Back on our lesson, and as you see, you're going to be going to another MOTB update, which I'm going to probably title the lesson, The Foundation, has been laid. Dealing with these, various implementations of these apps and change this devil has been making, in general, to pretty much everything. As you're now seeing, digital IDs are pretty much required and are going to be, more heavily pushed, come to these last days. And really it's all preparing you for this MOTB, this Charagma, which is the RFID CHIP. And you're all seeing by the way of, these different apps like Amazon One, where you're able to pay with the palm of your hand. So you see, the conditioning, the foundation, the infrastructure that's being laid, all in order to introduce this beast system. So I got this quick little post right here. This screenshot of this Polymarket. It says, just in, UK government clarifies adults will still be able to use social media by verifying their identities with digital IDs. And I believe they're making it to where, children at, a particular age are unable to access social media. But those that want to continue to access it, you need to pretty much show proof of verification. So you can imagine what this devil going to do dealing with the MOTB, where it's going to be required for you to have it to be able to access Wi-Fi, the internet, and everything else. You're holding checkpoints. You show proof of verification that you have that Charagma, just as they did back in 2020. They had these lockdowns and curfews in place. They also had these checkpoints being held to where people want to enter, a state or even travel a plane, get on a plane. You have a green pass. And you show that you are, negative, that you don't have the 19, But as I finish reading this off, the UK government clarifies adults will still be able to use social media but this is a catch, by verifying their identities with digital IDs. And this is what they're now heavily pushing, is these digital IDs. This will pretty much be required for everything else. Because you see what this place is heading to, a digitized system. Everything is moving towards it being digital. You have venues no longer accepting cash. You have certain stores like I want to say Costco, if I'm correct, where they have a membership program. Pretty sure that's going digital. You have certain doors in these supermarkets locked, and you show ID, scan your ID in order to open the door. So you get the gist, the general idea of where this is heading if you have the eyes to see, But it says by verifying their identities with digital IDs, facial recognition, passports, and credit cards. So that's what's getting ready to be heavily pushed. And what's in that's just conditioning and preparing you for that MOTB. As Revelation 13:16 through 17, it says, and he called both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in the right hand or in their foreheads. Verse 17. And that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name, and very soon you will live a so-called normal life without it. So you see how they're going to be, forced in people's hands. A choice will have to be made come these last days. But also come at the verse 16, it says a mark in the right hand or in their foreheads. Just made a lesson a day or two ago, dealing with the Neuralink. They're using AI to promote it, which I believe they actually used a guy that has the actual Neuralink. There was a video about him going around. I believe a couple brothers made lessons speaking on him. But they also pretty much used his body, his face, in an AI promotional video, to push it. There's a 2 Corinthians 2:11, and it says, lest Satan should avenge us, for we are not ignorant of his device. Because we ultimately see what this, is headed, with the directions it's going. Because 2 Corinthians 2:11, the NLT, so that Satan will not outsmart us, for we are familiar with his evil schemes. So we ultimately see what he's playing at, and ultimately the general direction where this is heading. Isaiah 10:1 says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievances which they have prescribed, going to these draconian, like laws, these harsh restrictions, these mandates, which you are going to soon see." And you're gonna see what they're able to do with the digital IDs, to where they're gonna be pretty much pushing people to go out and take it, because if you won't have it, you won't be able to access particular things, So that's not but a little trial, a little test for the stuff really getting ready to do. 2 Ezra 15:17, it says, "A man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able." So at the point we're in Isaiah 10:1, dealing with these unrighteous decrees that are getting ready to be implemented. Soon you won't be able to travel, leave your city, your state. Curfews going to be held, checkpoints going to be held. Jobs are going to require it. You won't be able to access the internet. You're going to need to have it. So you see, people are going to make that choice, Just as they had back in 2020, dealing with the concoction, the juice this devil pushed out, which we especially warned of to stay away from that. But you had people that went out and still took it. Because you had jobs online. People weren't willing to lose that for the Lord. So imagine when the test is now in play, Because you failed the pop quiz, imagine when MOTB comes about. You already took the juice. So you're more than likely going to take this charagma. 2 Thessalonians 2:9 says, "Even him who is coming is as the working of Satan with all power and signs and lying wonders," especially dealing with these miracles. This devil may be formed left inside to his technology. People be deceived, tempted into taking these things. Because that's one thing they were heavily pushing in that AI video, was that this would be able to help people that are paralyzed, that are blind, that have particular problems, that this would be able to fix it. So you're going to have people lining up to take this thing. But this is Matthew 24:24. "For there shall rise false anointed and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, and so much that if it were possible, they should deceive the very elect." But it's impossible to deceive the Lord's men. This is Revelation 2:10, but it's going to show how great deception is going to be. And it says, "Fear none of the things which thou shalt suffer. Behold, the devil shall cast you into prison, that you may be tried." So you're going to be persecuted and be hated, demonized, for especially not wanting to take this thing. As you've seen, for example, back in 2020, once again, people looked at you like you were crazy for not wanting to take this thing. The juice, the concoction. You had people wanting to be, pushing for people to be fined, jailed over not taking it. I always like to reference this one post this football player made, I believe. I believe he's a football player. If not, he was an athlete, but pretty much made a post that people should be fined or, jailed for not, wearing a mask or, taking the juice. And look what ended up happening to him. I believe he got taken out from it. Matter of fact, various problems came from that concoction. And these devils even came out themselves and admitted it. But it says, "They even be tried, should be released 10 days, be thou faithful and doth not give thee a crown of life." Revelation 3:10, closing scripture, says, "Because thou hast kept one of my patience, I also keep thee from the hour of temptation." What's the hour of temptation? I believe mainly when it's to be presented in front of us. And it says, "Which shall come upon all the world to try them that dwell upon the earth." So we're going to be tried, we're going to be tested. And these are the type of times that we're coming into and things this devil is doing. We're just blowing that trumpet. Because this is what you are seeing as we speak. And soon the prophets will no longer be doing the talking. So get this truth while you still can. But that's it right there. I do close out, give all praise, all honor, and all glory to Al Bashim, Hashem, Bashim, Kakadash, and